Thank you.
Don't run away. You got to be here when I say go. Then-
Yeah. Okey-dokey.
Whenever you are ready.
I'm ready.
All set?
We're good, yep.
Okay, the time is 8:04. We are going back into session. And please do a roll call.
Chairwoman Cates. Vice Chair Reardon.
Here.
Secretary Raymond.
Yes, here.
Mr. Alter.
Here.
Mr. Friedman.
Here.
Mr. Griep.
Here.
Dr. Weinberg.
Here.
Mr. Hipp.
Here.
Mayor Scheinfeld.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have the continued hearing of PZ-3-25, Block 1108, Lot 3, also known as 33 Beechwood Drive. Vincent and Mary Cashel. It's a new single-family residence, and if there's no attorney, will you please introduce yourself, and we can get started. Oh, I'm sorry. My favorite part, I forgot.
Get out.
Because this is a fee variance, the mayor must recuse himself, so have a good evening, sir.
Everybody have fun.
Thank you for your time.
Just so you all know, all you day after your hard work on getting affordable housing, the council passed it. It went through to the state to meet our deadline, so thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good night. Sorry for that rude interruption. I will.
Okay, my name is Mary Cashel. I live currently in Pearl River, 426 Somerset Drive, Pearl River.
And I'm going to just swear you both.
Yes.
If you could both raise your right hand. You swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And if you could just state your name and your last name.
Yes, Joseph J. Bruno, 29 Pascack Road, Park Ridge, New Jersey. I'm the architect for the project.
And I believe from the last meeting, and I'm pretty sure the board can also attest that we approve Mr. Bruno's expertise in the field of architecture.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so please, the floor is yours.
Okay, yes. We're living in Pearl River, but my daughter lives next door at 37 Beechwood Drive, and the plan is that we purchase that land in hopes of letting them build a bigger house, and we take over the house that they're currently living in at 37 Beechwood Drive. It's smaller, and they need a bigger one for their growing family.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, no problem.
Good evening. I'd like to just walk the board through the photographs that were submitted with the application. Photograph number 1 is a view of the, I guess it's the left-hand side of the subject property looking south from Beechwood Drive. The trees to the right are wholly within the subject lot. Photograph number 2 is a view looking east from the center front to back of the subject property. Photograph number 3 is a view looking west from the center of the subject property. That's front to back. I had to back up from the actual lot line. Photograph number 4, just to give you a context of the neighborhood. Photograph number 4 is the front or north elevation view of the residence at number 37 Beechwood Drive, which is immediately to the west next door, which Ms. Cashel had just referenced. Photograph number 5 is the front or north elevation view of the residence of 41 Beechwood Drive. Photograph number 6 is the front or north elevation view of the residence at 53 Beechwood Drive. Photograph number 7 is the front or north elevation view of the residence at 71 Beechwood Drive. That's presently under construction. Photograph number 8 is the front or north elevation view of the residence at 79 Beechwood Drive. That was That was recently completed, to my knowledge. Photograph number 9 is the front or south elevation view of the residence at 52 Beechwood Drive. And photograph number 10 is the front or southwest elevation view of the residence at 16 Riverside Drive. So that's on the corner diagonally across from the subject lot. The proposed project is to build a new home, and we are in a flood zone, so we have to elevate above the base flood elevation, which gives us some consternation as far as FAR is concerned, because as per your ordinance, as you're aware, covered areas, whether they're enclosed with walls or not, are counted in the FAR calculation. So we're proposing a ground floor footprint area, which includes the terrace in the rear or to the south, which borders on Nugent Place in Westwood, of 1,650 square feet. That is the house itself plus the elevated terrace. Then the first floor and second floor areas are identical at 1,170 square feet. The proposed variances or the requested variances are as follows. Building coverage in the R4 zone is 25%. We are proposing 33%, and that includes the house footprint itself plus the terrace. The impervious coverage permitted is 35%. We are proposing 43.67%. Then the FAR, this is a big number. 35% is permitted, but 79.78% is proposed, and that's because we've got really the 3 levels that we have to count. Now, to give the board some context to that, we've also got we also have an undersized lot. The minimum required lot size in this zone is 7,500 square feet. We have 5,001, so we'll call it 5,000 square feet. So we have, if we were to discount the area underneath the house that we have to elevate because of the flood area, we would be at, our FAR would drop precipitously to 46.79%. It would still be a variance condition, of course, but it would drop to 46.79%, where 35% is permitted. And that calculation is taking 1,170 square feet, multiplying it by 2, because if we could build on grade, we would not have the covered parking area below the house. We could park the cars in front. We would not need the elevated terrace, and we would not need that entrance vestibule with the stair that we show at the ground level. Now, if we didn't have the deck, our building coverage would drop to 25.72%, which would be just about conforming at the 25%. Also, if we were able to build on the grade, our impervious coverage would be at 37.67%, where 35% is permitted. Allow me to just bring you through the design of the house itself. And so at the ground floor, we would have a covered parking area and a vestibule with a stair leading up to the first floor living space, because obviously we have to get up there. So somehow, first floor plan, we have living room, dining room, kitchen, den with a lavatory and a couple of closets, with the stairway that serves both the first floor and the ground floor, the second floor and the ground floor. At the second floor plan, we have 3 bedrooms. We have the master bedroom, master bath, and walk-in closet, 2 bedrooms, a common bath, and a laundry room. So at a footprint area of 1,170 square feet, in this day and age, it is a fairly modest-sized home. It's not, we're not creating spaces that are gargantuan. We've got a den at what we call the first floor at 11 by 12, not a huge space. Bedrooms 2 and 3 are basically 11'8" by 12'4". The master bedroom is 14 by 16. So we're not trying to build something that someone might consider in more colloquial terms a McMansion. As far as the exterior aesthetics of the proposed home, we would have facing windows, asphalt shingle roofing, vertical siding, and stone at the base level. Fairly simple, straight, clean lines for the home, and it's somewhat consistent with the newer homes that have been built. With us this evening, I also have Mr. Michael Pesolano. He's a professional planner, and he will be able to give the board testimony as to the planning aspects, floor area ratio, and the applicability of same. But with that, I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice, and I'd like to hear your voices and answer any questions that I can.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. We will start with Mr. Hipp. Any questions?
None for Mr. Bruno.
Okay. Mr. Green?
No.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes, sir. You showed us a couple pictures, number 7 and number 8, and you talked about the square footage of the project that you're planning. Do you know, based on the pictures you took, the approximate square footage based on, just looking at the pictures, compared to the property that you're proposing?
No, I do not, and in fact, I was not able to get that information from the building.
You tried? And you were unable to get that information? Did they deny you the information, or did you? I don't understand that. I don't understand that
I
answer.
didn't understand it either, but they did tell me that they conform with the FAR requirement.
Without a variance?
Without a variance.
Okay.
I believe the one that needed a variance was for, I believe, height.
The roof.
Yeah,
And
I believe
that's
it
why I
was
asked the question. So if they're conforming with the FAR, both properties, in the same neighborhood, why are you proposing something 79% versus the 35% when they complied?
I believe those are larger lots.
You believe they're larger lots?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, one would, especially looking at photograph number 7, that house is turned sideways, and there's quite a bit of land on both sides of the house.
Which lot would 7 and 8 be on the?
Photograph number 7 is taken at 71B2.
Okay, just moving on.
One thing and please forgive me, one thing I wanted to make the board aware of, the owner did reach out to Mr. Gasali to find out if there was any of that adjacent land that would be available for sale, and Mr. Gasali responded that it was acquired through Blue Acres funding, so that it was they could not entertain it.
So you're saying they were restricted to what they had, they couldn't increase the size?
That is correct.
Okay. Going back to Chris's notes, if I can jump ahead a little bit, Chris, you said that, I'm sorry, just going back to your notes, you talked about the 2-inch rainfall, impervious coverage, groundwater elevation, stormwater management. Can I jump to Chris right now? Is that?
That's fine.
Okay. Can you talk to that real quick? Because I know it's a flooded area.
What you have here is, so the board understands, this is just a picture of what might be built here. There's really very little, there's practically no technical information on this house. This is just a box on another, within a box. And my letter alludes to the fact there's a lot more work that's got to be done. I need seepage pits. The big thing is going to be the fact that the house is in a floodway, not a floodplain, but the floodway of the Pascack Brook. And to build a new habitable dwelling in the floodway is quite a permit trick with the DEP.
Can you tell me what a floodway is? I'm not.
Well, the floodway
As opposed to a flood.
is the main channel which during a 100-year storm frequency, that's where most of the water goes down there. Then you got the flood fringes on the sides. That's the higher lands where you have just a few feet of water. It's slower velocity water. The floodways where you have the 7 to 10 feet per second water. It just goes right on through. So that's why it's in my report. The applicant's aware of that. The people building the house, if the house gets built, and you see what goes on in Texas. I've been here 50 years in town. I've seen lots of houses destroyed in the Glenbrook Park section. And after every major catastrophe, we're down there with FEMA sort of cleaning things up.
Right.
So the fact is, this house is going to be in the floodway. DEP did change the mapping a few years ago to be more realistic. It used to be the floodway was out beyond the DPW garage, like that way. Then they finally broadened it out because of the computer models were showing these homes are really in the floodway. So
So with that said, if this is in a floodway, are we basing our decision on this particular house and the plans that Mr. Bruno presented, or are we basing this on a proposed?
remember, the board's job is not permittability, just feasibility. Getting a permit is their problem. Your problem says, is the project feasible? Is a swimming pool held up by helium balloons? No, is what they plan on, is it going to be feasible? That's your concern is here with the board. How they get their permits, et cetera, is going to be their job.
So they have to go through DEP either way?
They've got a ways to go. Yeah, they got to put the house on. This plan's got to be dressed up so the DEP can review it.
So is that part of part of the process, the resolution that has to be approved? We have to.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and that would be a condition.
A condition, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we
Right.
don't have jurisdiction for that anyway, so it's really.
Well, other than, just so that
But I want to
everybody's
make sure
aware,
I know what I'm voting on too.
Yeah, it would be conditioned on.
A condition,
them
okay.
obtaining all the.
I mean, they're in the floodway. This is a dangerous part of the world to live in if you want to build a house, but that's
Right,
fine.
if I may, if the project would, if the board were to look favorably on the project, then of course, the owner would have to engage a licensed New Jersey engineer to prepare a fully engineered site plan to address all of the applicable issues, plus a consultant, versed in wetlands
And does that have to come back to the board again, or is this something?
No, that's
It's a
different than
conditional
zoning.
approval?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's going to be a soil permit application. Right now, this is just a sketch, but we have to get a hard soil permit application, which I presumably, depending on the resolution written, we'll see that ourselves to make sure that all the boxes are checked, stormwater management, the flood hazard area, all the other permits required before they get a permit, building permit.
Right, and as far as let's say with this, there's generally very little that I as an architect would be doing relative to that, other than when I'm detailing the building itself, that this the ground floor stair enclosure, basically all I need to worry about is specifying and locating the appropriate flood vents, because the house cannot displace the floodwaters. But if the board were to look favorably on the project, then all applicable engineering would have to be done by a New Jersey licensed engineer, wetlands consultant, and going through all of the steps with DEP.
And if them going through DEP, if DEP makes changes that trigger new variances, they're coming back.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
part of my question.
Yep.
Okay.
But as part of the variance portion of this application, the board can make reasonable conditions, forgetting about what goes on down the road. Obviously, we need to have tree restitution.
That's my next
There's about 20 trees coming down. We have a 2-to-1 requirement. So I don't know how they can't possibly put in 40 trees on the property. The individual permit with DEP is going to require mitigation also. When you do an IP with the state, because I've done several of them, they're going to have to find other lands to do mitigation on. I don't know how they're going to find it, but that's going to be part of it. Or they're going to pay a big nut to DEPs. They have a bank of money they have also. But that'll be his problem down the road. Is that your concern? But we do
Yeah,
have.
because all of those applicable regulations would have to be complied.
But if the board wants to do anything additional, though, if you think you want to put buffers, landscaping, et cetera, now's the time to say, we want to see that in the resolution. So when they come back, it has to be presented to us.
Again, my major concern was the flooding area. So to build something in a flooded area that's already flooding is a concern for my concern for the other residents there.
course, yeah.
So you build, bathtub's only so big, so if you're building, it's going to overflow quicker. So that's my concern. And I think Chris just addressed that. As far as the mitigation of trees, have you addressed that there's 20 trees coming down?
I don't know, he
I
hasn't,
believe that's about it, between 20 and 25, depending on how we work that, but then we would have to be in full compliance with the municipality shade tree.
The ordinance? Okay, great. No other questions?
As long
Thanks,
as-
Joe.
Yeah,
As
but
long
as
as
far
the-
as the, oh, go ahead.
as long as the property owners all understand this. You know, down the road, they gotta put 50 trees in, or pay for 50 trees, which is, you know, $400 a tree, it's $20,000, as long as they're aware that the conditions are going to be there, you know.
Yeah, that's why.
Wonderful, yeah, but also, given we're trying to minimize the footprint as best as we can, as little as possible. And even at the end of the day, this vestibule in the first couple of steps may be the only ground contact we have for that, and then the stairway can be open underneath. It'll be enclosed from the weather, but at least any floodwaters that do come can flow
Pass through.
through. And then we just have these masonry piers to support the structure above.
Very good.
But whatever we have in here will have flood vents so that the floodwaters can pass through.
Okay,
Okay, and that's a code requirement.
thank you.
Mr. Alter?
Yes, I want to ask Chris, how concerned are you with the fact that their impervious coverage is about 14% over the max?
How was that determined?
No, how concerned are you about that?
Well, I mean, you could reduce impervious coverage by using pavers in the driveway, you know, you get a 50% discount for that. You know, that would help reduce that impervious coverage.
What kind of stormwater management would you recommend for something like this, other than the fact it's on still?
Well, they're gonna have to do test pits. Once I get a plot plan, we have to see test pits to make sure they can put seepage tanks in the ground. They could be shallow, there are shallow seepage.
Right.
They do make shallow units to store the storms
So
outside.
all of that will be conditions that we place on a resolution?
Yeah, the conditions would be them complying and obtaining any and all approvals, including NJDEP.
Well,
So would you consider using pavers to reduce?
sorry?
Would you consider using pavers
Oh, absolutely.
to reduce the impervious coverage as much as you can?
We could add that as a condition.
Yes, I would add that. Simply because you're in the floodplain, you know, I think it'll make even a slight difference would help.
Sure, and there are also some permeable pavements on the market now that even though they, you know, the zoning ordinance calculations notwithstanding, are considered as permeable, and I'm working on a project right now in Leonia where we're considering that.
you gotta be careful with permeable pavers because this is a floodway. And if there's a flood, any gravel or sands is just gonna be, you know, down in
Yeah,
Westwood.
because one of the things that we're doing in Leonia, though, because they want to accommodate an elderly parent, so what we're doing is we're accomplishing the same thing with solid pavement and then draining the pavement into a trench drain and then to the seepage pit. So there are ways to mitigate that, many ways to mitigate it, and I prefer that anyway rather than the permeable stuff, because in the winter, it's not permeable when it's frozen.
So anyway, I have comments related to stormwater management, my report. So if you just reference my report and the resolution, and this will get covered then.
I have a question for you though. With that 50% reduction, can you get me the calculation of what that would be for the impervious? So we don't grant it, in the event it's approved,
That's
we're not
fine.
Well,
granting a
are you
variance.
saying that the pavers are not really a good idea because they wash away?
No, pavers are okay. They've got what's called permeable pavement or permeable pavers.
Right.
They're gravel filled, sometimes they're sand filled. Those would be inappropriate here. But regular pavers would be fine. They'd be fine.
So then, Mr.
600 square
Romero, we're
feet
talking
divided by
regular
two.
pavers.
I got it. Made them so much. 600 square feet divided by 2.
I can see the smoke already coming up the chimney. I've already calculated, let me see what he comes up with. But
300.
Yeah, if we did the pavers, the impervious coverage would be reduced down to 36.83.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Bruno?
Be
you.
36.83%.
30,
That's only 6% over.
36 versus the 30.
Versus 46. Okay,
it's about 6% reduction.
and I'm just gonna,
Just for the driveway.
I'm sorry,
I'm just gonna suggest that that be a condition.
Excuse me?
I'm going to suggest that that be a condition that you consider on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah, that's very reasonable, sure.
You'll have to revise the plan anyway to make sure the zoning box matches just what you said.
Is that it, Mr. Alter?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Weinberg?
Yeah, just looking at it, it just seems that the house is too big for the property. I know you said that the other houses didn't require any variances, but in percentage-wise, compared to their property, they were appropriate. This one seems a little too big for that property. I'm just going to give my comments. We've already discussed the trees, but the other thing I have is Nugent Place in Westwood. Are we interfering with their, with too close to their border? The house is going to be too close to the street. At Nugent, I don't want to have a problem with Westwood either.
Well, I believe the property is entirely within Hillsdale, so
But we
Nugent
want to
Place
be
is just...
accommodating to our neighbors in Westwood, not put the house closer than they would put their house
Well, I think
on that street.
Right.
So it's fair saying you have a problem with the front yard setback and their technical rear yard of their home?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's
Yeah,
appropriate.
because we
for
have
us.
two front yards here, and...
You're a
the-
pass-through lot.
Right, and the deck is, the deck is a function of the fact that we have to elevate the house, so to have some living, some outdoor outdoor living space, just to put a grill and a table and chairs, rather than going up and down a full flight of stairs all the time.
Anything else, Doctor?
No, those are my comments.
Dan?
So following up on that, is there any screening or any foliage or fencing or anything on the Nugent Place side, or is that?
Well, that would be, we're proposing the deck there. We could put some screening so that people aren't seeing it as an open deck, but it would be not much different than an open porch. If one had a porch on their home, you would still see it. In this case, we have to be elevated higher
Right, no,
than the average porch.
Okay. I was just wondering if there's any planned foliage or something to.
Well, there will be foundation plantings around the house, and given the fact that we're a pass-through lot, we could do some taller species of evergreens along the Nugent Place. We would just have to come up with something that the deer aren't munching on. There've been a few things that I've been specifying that have been good until lately. I've got in the front of my house, I have an upright Japanese yew that I planted in the spring of '98, shortly after we moved into the house, and the deer just started to eat it last year. They stayed away all these years. They've been there all these years, and now they're just starting.
That's not an unreasonable condition, and plus they can also do some tree restitution on site as well. They can use bigger trees, which they get more credit for, but even within the 10-foot side yard setbacks, there are some trees that grow more vertically than ones that grow more like a lollipop, so those can certainly be introduced here as well. And I think the idea of the evergreen screening is a good idea too for the neighbors, because you're only talking about 10-foot setback here. It's pretty tight down here.
Right. As part of the engineered site plan, there will be a planting plan
But that should be-
associated with that.
But that should be stipulation in the resolution. I don't want to have to hear, the violence later on. I want to make sure it's all covered in the resolution now, so there's no surprises down the road.
And we could condition it on them providing that landscape planning working with the board engineer
Yep.
to satisfaction.
Okay?
So is that how you would phrase that, based on the engineer's recommendations? Okay.
Yeah. They can provide something to me. I can go back and forth with it. Yeah. I know what the board wants to say.
I'm a little torn about it because at that point you're making it a rear yard in essence. You're cutting it off as opposed to being open, even though it is sort of the rear yard. It's one of the issues with the through lot. So my next question, so you're going for 4 variances right now, right? So the building coverage, I'm just going off your first sheet. I'm not talking about pre-existing ones, so 4 new ones. Building coverage, impervious coverage, the front yard setback for Nugent, and the floor area ratio, right?
Right, the FAR.
I think, I know Hillsdale also has, they have two side yard requirements. One is the 10-foot, and then there's also an aggregate, I believe. I don't know if it's every zone.
20% of the lot frontage is.
30%.
Was it 30%?
30,
Sorry.
30%
Yeah,
in the R4.
Yep.
So
Right.
30% of 50, they're still good.
Okay, so they're good. Okay, I just didn't see it
15 feet,
listed, so I, okay. Okay. So your plot plan here, I'm assuming this is based off the exterior walls?
Yeah.
The boundaries. I believe in this town, they do include the overhang, so I see that there are some overhangs that go past that.
To my knowledge, not the roof overhangs.
In terms of the area coverage, I don't know.
What was the question? I'm sorry. What was the?
It's the telltale question of the definition the borough has of is the nearest or the most outer portion of the building.
Yeah.
And have we stricken that from being the fascia to just the face? I know this came up in January of
Yeah, it's
making it easier.
The
for
furthest
people.
point of the building, that's right, yes.
Oh, it was changed to it?
Yes, so the overhangs count
It would have had to have been adopted by council, and I highly doubt it.
So we're to the walls?
to the overhangs, the
To the
furthest point
overhangs.
of the
I mean,
building.
we'll have to adjust that so that we're
Just
not.
that, yes.
Yeah, that's not an issue. It doesn't count the gutters, of course.
No, just fascia.
Yeah.
Okay, I see your 33-foot building height, that's based on the average grade, I'm assuming?
And the lot is essentially flat, but that will also be set. And typically what I do, or always I should say, what I do with my construction documents, I will set I'll set the maximum ridge elevation. That will be also on the site plan, and then I have a further instruction for the framer to set the ridge and have it certified by the surveyor before the rest of the roof is framed in, before all the rafters are in, so that if
Yeah.
the surveyor sees that there's an issue with the height of the ridge, it's taken care of
That's smart.
before it goes ahead.
We've had that
so that
problem.
so we don't
Smart
have those
You don't want to
issues.
take down a roof that's built.
No. If it's one ridge held up by a few sticks to verify it, that's fine, but not when a whole roof is done, because that's a disaster, as
Yeah.
this board knows.
That's a requirement in our review letters for soil movement, is that they do, we get a framing elevation on the top of the frame.
They should
before they-
submit a certified letter from the
Yeah,
engineer
Michelle won't
verifying
issue.
the ridge height.
Michelle won't issue the rest of the building permit until she receives that, just to avoid that problem. Tearing
Yeah.
roofs off.
If it comes to me at that point, it's a little upsetting. If it's after the roof is on, the shingles, then it's a disaster, but we haven't gotten there yet because of what I do with the instruction to the contractor.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the elevation, the ground elevation, so I just,
Yeah, the lot is essentially flat, but and I also leave a little bit of fluff space for the ridge vent and the shingles, so that I'd rather be, if we're 4 inches less, that's fine. I don't need that 4 inches extra in height.
right.
I'm going to suggest also as a condition that the deck not be covered. I mean, these people own that property now, but in 10 years, when it may be sold, and, oh, let's cover the deck with, whatever. So put that in the resolution, at least when they do the title search, they're going to pick the resolution up, it's going to be a condition of resolution, they'll see it right away. I would just suggest that.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That does affect impervious coverage, too.
No, as this board knows, that when I show something, it's going to be built the way I show it. We don't play any games with that.
Today, but in 10 years, Joey.
Well, 10 years from now, hopefully I'll be retired, and it'll be something
Well, you'll still be here in 10 years, just like me, I hope.
I'll definitely see you. in
Oh,
10
you don't
years.
want me here. You don't want me here at
You're so gonna
75.
be
That's
here
for
in 10
sure.
years. Anything else, Dan? Anything else? Okay. That comes to me. All right, I got a few questions.
Sure.
AC condensers, you don't show any on the plot plan, I understand, but, I mean, if they're going to be thrown into the side yards, that can get you into a
No,
problem.
they will be under the covered area.
Into the covered area? I
Yeah,
saw that coming.
we have plenty of space there to put them, and, probably back in this area, but they will not be outside of the building footprint.
Fair, just make sure they're on the site plan. The deck going down to the rear yard, there's no talk of any stairs from the exterior, so
No.
someone's going to have to go all the way back to that stairwell through the carport and go to the backyard? Just want to make sure, because.
Yep, no,
you know,
no,
it's-
that's, because we were challenged enough with the amount of space we have to work with, and,
Just take your board's recommendations or forever hold your peace. That's all.
yep,
Okay.
yep, and if in the future, and if they wanted to do it, it would have to be within the confines of the footprint
Correct,
of
it
the
would
deck.
have to reduce
Yeah.
out of the deck.
It wouldn't
That's
be outside of it. I didn't want to gild the lily, as they say.
Okay, no, that's fine. On to the biggest elephant in the room, your FAR. So taking away your hardship, which is, as you discussed, the counting of our covered car area,
Correct.
because you have to obviously raise this house. With excluding that, so that takes away your hardship, your first and second floor are still over the FAR currently, correct?
That is correct.
And what was the testified amount you're still over?
We'd be at 46.79%, and that's because we're undersized lot by a third, which we obviously can't do anything about. And I would respectfully say, and the planner, Mr. Pesolano, will testify as to, you know, the appropriateness of the size of the house as it relates to, you know, modern-day living. I mean, we've got a footprint area of, I think, 1,170 square feet per floor, which is not, you know, grandiose by any stretch. It's not a bungalow, but it's not a McMansion either.
No, I don't disagree with that statement. The one, I'm just trying to do the math before I.
Yeah, so we'd be at
question.
46.79, and obviously, even though, you know, we don't have a conforming lot, but if we had a conforming lot, we wouldn't even be having the conversation.
And so your building coverage, you're over by 8%, roughly 400 square feet. Is there anything in the hopper of what you're thinking that could potentially be reduced to eliminate something off this variance list, which would also help you with the
What we
FAR?
could do is, I could eliminate 120 square feet, because the first floor and the second floor is set back 4 feet from the front edge of the, you know, the beginning of the covered parking area. So we could trim that back a bit, and that would save 4 times 30, 120 square feet. Yeah, minus, but excluding something for the vestibule, which still has to be there because of the elevation change.
And those are my only questions. Before I close down the architect, anyone have some follow-up questions for Mr. Bruno? No? Just open it to the public if anyone's still here. Come up, state your name, address. Not seeing anybody.
And Mr. Pesolano?
All right. We'll bring up your next witness, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Can you please, do you swear or affirm that this is me about here tonight is the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, I'm Michael J. Pesolano, that's spelled P-E-S-S-O-L-A-N-O, licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, business address 140 Elmwood Avenue, Pagoda, New Jersey. Former resident of Westwood on Pascack Brook, believe it or not. I know the waterway very well. Maybe we're expected to qualify myself. I've been licensed since 1984 as a professional planner in the state of New Jersey and practice professional planning at the municipal level exclusively. That entire time, I've served in 3 different kinds of capacities. One is in-house municipal planner. In the mid part of my career, I joined a consulting firm that was multidisciplined, that had engineering, architecture, environmental, plus planning. And in that capacity, I served as municipal planner, consulting municipal planner, and consulting board planner for roughly half a dozen northern New Jersey municipalities, including City of Hackensack, Borough of Lodi, Borough of Glen Rock, Township of Livingston out in Essex County, a few others. And now in the latter part of my career, I've been appearing pretty much exclusively as an expert planning witness before boards such as this. I've never been rejected as an expert in professional planning, thankfully, and don't expect to be at this point, but I could tell you more about my qualifications if you're interested.
And your license is current?
My license is current, number 3058. It's the number.
I accept this, yes. Everyone else, I assume, agrees with me. We
I-
would not want to be your first denial of the
I,
way.
I have not been before this board yet, but I can no longer say that after tonight. So thank you for your courtesy in allowing me to qualify myself. I did a number of things to prepare for my appearance tonight, as you might expect. Obviously, looking at the application materials, visiting physically the site and the neighborhood it sits in, looking at municipal master plan and applicable development regulations, discussing it with my clients and Mr. Oh my gosh.
Mr. Bruno?
Mr. Bruno.
No, Joe, you can sit back down. It's okay.
Oh, my gosh.
You just needed your name, Joe.
You-
We weren't going to help you yet.
If it were my name that I forgot, I think you should be worried. I'm sorry. But anyway, I prepared a planning exhibit, which I'll distribute and present to you in a moment. But generally prepared myself to address all of the concerns and criteria, most importantly, for whether or not this application meets the applicable criteria for the relief has been described so far. So with that, I would like to distribute my planning exhibit. What shall we mark this as? Please. Thank you.
Joe's plans. We already have Joe's plans, right? Yeah. No, but we'll just say his housekeeping, March of day 1
Yeah.
through. You didn't do any changes from the previous documents that you had at the last hearing, correct? No. Okay. So,
You didn't mark any of them.
I think they didn't even go through.
Okay, I thought you would. So these will be A1.
While this is being distributed, I also want to add that one of my first assignments as a baby planner back in 1979, I was hired as an assistant planner by the Borough of Lincoln Park, fresh out of school, fresh out of college, rather, still in graduate school, getting my Master of Urban Planning degree from Hunter College, I meant to mention that. And Borough of Lincoln Park is three-quarter floodplain. So one of my titles, one of the many hats I wore in that role, was floodplain administrator, which gave me, pardon the pun, an immersion experience in flood issues right from the start of my career. And of course, I mentioned I lived on Pascack Brook, actually at the confluence of the Pascack and the Squapsink Brook in Westwood, and witnessed firsthand the power of nature when it's flood time. But I'm not representing myself as a technical expert per se in flooding like Mr. Steele could say he is, but awareness of flooding issues nonetheless. I'm also a licensed real estate professional in New Jersey and have experience with the housing market in this area. So with that, let me present to you the exhibit and what is on it. The first one, aside from the obvious extra advertising for Mr. Steele, the first sheet on this exhibit is a tax map that shows the subject property in Block 1108, Lot 3, highlighted here in yellow. The exhibit number again, please, A2. Is this-
A1.
A1, okay. On sheet 1 of A1, which has 5 sheets. This has a lot of detail, and it's fairly close up so that the board can appreciate the location of borough-owned lands and so forth, and dimensions of the property. A second view of that is from the zoning map that shows, again, parcel lines, but without that detail. It shows the property fully within the R4 residential district, again, in the yellow shading to highlight that location. And then third sheet is depiction of the flood hazard areas that affect this area. The subject property being shown at the blue balloon with the house icon in the middle of it, showing the property not at the edge per se of the Pascack Brook, but within the flood delineated floodway of that water body. The lighter blue indicates the more fringe areas that Mr. Statiel pointed out, and the orange are the less likely to flood areas. Moving on, sheet 4 of 5 shows an aerial image annotated by myself, and the subject property is shown at a red balloon with a white dot in it and a yellow dotted outline, and you can see that it rests on the border between the borough of Hillsdale and the borough of Westwood, touching Nugent Place right-of-way, and it also touches Beechwood Drive in Hillsdale. You can see the distribution of municipal land. I don't know if all of those properties were acquired with the Blue Acres funding or not, but it just provides a perspective. What is interesting to me on this image is the string of several homes to which we're proposing to add another one that, in my opinion, will strengthen the neighborhood feel for these few residents that live along the south side of this segment of Beechwood Drive. Incidentally, if you look at the ENT in the word Nugent, that dwelling faces Nugent Place. The rear yard of that built home faces Beechwood Drive. The other three that are shown in that string of 4 homes orient front-wise towards Beechwood Drive, but they all are tangent to Nugent Place. You can also see on the edges the non-residential uses in the area. Finally, sheet 5 shows some ground photos taken by myself. And image 2 in the upper left shows what may have been a previously developed property that is now owned by the borough of Hillsdale, purchased with Blue Acres funding. Is just to the east of the subject property. It's clear of trees, and I guess the DPW takes care of mowing it. It was in a nice mowed condition when I visited, as this picture indicates. Image 3 shows the home at 16 Riverside Drive, which is one of the nearby homes in this subject neighborhood. Image 4 captures a couple of the homes that Mr. Bruno presented in his photo presentation. The dwelling that's under construction on the left side is indeed on a larger lot, quite a bit larger than the home next to it, which I believe is also a 50 by 100 foot lot. Then finally, in image 5, it's a view of looking westerly down Nugent Place after the bend. It's the segment behind the subject property. You can see the annotation on the woods that indicates the subject property, and we're looking westerly from the bend. I apologize, I called that from the bend in Lafayette Avenue. It's actually the bend in Nugent Place. What's also notable is I noticed a solid concrete curb along the edge of that pavement that directs rainwater. The pavement is slightly above an elevation of the subject property, and the rainwater from Nugent Place is collected in catch basins and disposed of from there. So that provided me with the setting that I was working in to evaluate this application. Hopefully it was helpful to the board's understanding of the setting too. But we have 4 elements of relief before the board. I'll start with the more formidable one, which is the floor area ratio request, floor area ratio variance. Let me preface my remarks on that by saying when I was with the consulting firm in the mid-2000s, it was H2M Associates, we were writing a lot of floor area ratio ordinance amendments. That was the time of when the word McMansion was really problematic in suburban residential settings, where multiple properties were being aggregated and gigantic new homes plopped on them, dwarfing the homes around them. it created a demand, an overnight demand for regulation to curb that kind of practice. So the target then, and I believe the target should still be perceived now, is overdone, overreaching projects. While this application might have high numbers in the mix triggering variances, by my view of the neighborhood, homes ranging from large to small in the immediate radius around the subject property and along Lafayette and Riverside, this would be a right fit home in this particular neighborhood. It would not jump out as something that was overreaching, in my opinion, and I'll cover that in more detail in a moment. Secondly, I want to weigh in on the through lot condition and declare that, as I read the ordinance language, the definitions, the land use, what's the term here? The land use officer designates the front and the rear of a through lot, and that's under the definition of lot line, comma, rear, which reads, the lot line, other than in the case of a through lot, which is the farthest lot from the street. In the case of a through lot, or where there is any question, the land use officer shall designate the rear lot line. So I take that to mean, I've grappled with through lots and two front yards in various configurations, but this language to me makes it clear that there's a front yard and a rear yard, not two front yards on a through lot. I don't know how the land use officer looked at that, if that was even done. But that person, that officer, has the authority to designate one of the yards as front yard, one of the yards as rear yard. And as a practical matter, since we're orienting the access, the front of the dwelling towards Beechwood Drive, I would wager that that would be declared the front and not Nugent Place. The implication of that interpretation is that we would need a 25-foot rear yard instead of a 30-foot front yard. And so we still need relief for the proposed deck, but it's not as deep as the relief for a front yard. So thank you for bearing with me with those preliminary remarks. As to the standard of review for floor area ratio variances, return to Coventry Square versus Westwood Zoning Board. That's the case that for not just floor area variances, but also for density and excess density, and for conditional use criteria not met, the standard focuses on, can the site itself, this is the key question, can the site itself accommodate the problems associated with the excess FAR? And to evaluate that, my practice is to predict what might be considered impacts that could be detrimental and be perceived as not being contained on the site. There are three: parking, visual, and intensity of use. First, visiting with the parking question, can that be accommodated on site? Absolutely. The required number of parking spaces and a driveway serving them is proposed in the subject property. So I don't see that as an issue that can't be accommodated on the site. Visual. I think, as I stated earlier, that the massing of this proposed home is compatible with homes in the surrounding area. And I think that will be a growing finding as other existing homes take on the elevation task to protect the property from future flooding events. That is the only thing you can do to protect property in a flood-prone area. is to elevate the first floor and the utilities, the mechanicals above harm's way. That means an elevated structure, and if there are to be ongoing improvements in this neighborhood, which I see that new investment in the area today, I would expect that that would continue, especially in the era of an ongoing shortage of housing in the entire state of New Jersey. The final category is intensity of use. This is still just one family to occupy a three-bedroom home, so I see no overreaching or no negative implications from that activity, albeit on a 50 by 100-foot lot. It's not the only one in town, and you can see on the tax map imagery on sheet 1 of A1 that there are many such lots in the surrounding area. There's quite a mixture, actually. So I believe that the intensity of use can be readily accommodated without detriment on the subject property. So as all those considered, I see no element of the proposed development that is not suitably accommodated on the site. As this is a D variance, case law suggests that there be attention to what the municipal land use law what the case law considers special reasons. The term special reason is not defined in the municipal land use law, but it has come to be known as those purposes of the municipal land use law, A through O or P or whatever number that they end at. But there are three that I think touch down and are advanced very squarely by this particular proposal. Purpose A would be advanced. This new, safe, sanitary, decent home for one current resident, Hillsdale family, will promote the general welfare by virtue of being a permitted use, which on its face implicitly implements the zone plan and zoning ordinance toward the advancement of the general welfare. Purpose C will also be advanced. Purpose C is to provide for adequate light, air, and open space. And that is done by virtue of conforming yards for the main structure, treating the Nugent side as a rear yard now. All 4 yards are compliant. So there's no evidence of, just because this exceeds the FAR, that it's bumping into its neighbors or jumping out of the building envelope even. It's all contained. The principal structure is all contained within the building envelope. Technically, the deck is part of the principal structure. It goes outside of the building envelope, but because it is minimal in its massing, it's a fairly horizontal structure as opposed to vertical. It is minimal in its visual effect and impact. And so the final purpose I see being advanced by this application is continuing with adding new construction to this neighborhood. That will be a visual upgrade and also, as I mentioned before, extend the structural rhythm of dwellings along this particular street segment, thereby strengthening the neighborhood feel. Those are the positive criteria for the FAR proofs. There are 2 negative criteria, as there are with any variance request. Is there a public detriment, substantial public detriment from the proposal, or would there be substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance if this project were to be approved? Back to the public detriment, I see no detriment of a substantial nature here. The use is permitted. The side yard setbacks and height, side yard, rear yard setbacks and height conform, in my opinion. It's significant that the height conforms here, again, in my opinion, because this is an elevated structure. I witness in other occasions that when a structure has to be elevated, there also is a height variance that goes with it. This is not the case in this application. So I see no basis for a finding of substantial detriment from granting the floor area ratio variance. As to the zone plan impact, like all privately held property, this property too is zoned for productive utilization. A permitted use is proposed here. It is the only permitted use that is proposed in the R4 zoning district, only permitted use allowed. It's a permitted use where single-family use is both permitted and encouraged. In my opinion, granting relief here due to the unique physical constraints will not impair the intent or purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance, neither of which specifically prohibit the use of 5,000 square foot lots for home sites in residential zones. So with that part of the testimony done, I want to now go to the bulk relief that has been identified extensively. We have a lot of physical constraints with this property, as you've heard. The lot area, the lot width poses significant and formidable obstacles to developing a home that has the capacity to suitably house an average-sized family with 3 bedrooms in it. And none of the bedrooms, by my estimation, were luxurious. They were adequate to meet the needs for sleeping, and it's a suitable home for a family. The bulk relief, I believe, can satisfy both the hardship criteria under the C1 part of the statute, and it can also be approved pursuant to the C2 test, also under subsection 70C of the municipal land use law. First, with the let me say the characterization of this requested relief. As to the building coverage, you heard that the proposal is 33%. The home is largely within the building envelope. Because we have an exceptionally narrow lot, where 75 feet would be the minimum required and contemplated in the current zone plan, that creates a constraint that makes it difficult to conform, again, with a standard basic size home. The impervious coverage, also for the same reason, we have an exceptionally narrow lot that squeezes the coverage in the direction of being higher than the 35% maximum permitted. The setback for the deck is, in my opinion, a rear yard setback issue that's proposed 15 feet from the lot line, and as Mr. Bruno pointed out, it's realistic, usable outdoor space that you can get right to from your cooking area without having to go through a whole drill to get down steps and return to the backyard of the lot just to use your outdoor area. It makes sense to me from a practical perspective. Secondly, going back to my exhibit, I took a hard look at what Nugent Place is like, and I don't see any pattern. If you look at image 5 in my exhibit on the last page, there's no evidence of a pattern of development that would be disrupted by the protrusion of this deck, which when the landscaping is done, even in its early stage of growth, I think that's going to obscure the perception of that deck completely, and there won't be really anything to be concerned with the deck being 15 feet from that lot line on Nugent. So to address the specifics of the negative criteria, the impacts, to me, the lot area and the width, the substandard lot area and width are not substantially detrimental due to this being a common condition in this area. More importantly, it cannot be increased. My client took the effort to try to obtain more land to make it conforming, but that was not to be. The deck yard facing Nugent is not substantially detrimental. It's diminutive in its massing, the deck that is, a thin horizontal structure, but the building wall itself is conforming at 27 feet. The building wall of the main structure, it's 27 feet, where 25 feet would be required in the rear yard. So I see that as a compensating factor for the projection of the deck. The building wall is held back farther than what it could be to the Nugent lot line. I think that, again, that the value of plantings to vertical plantings, as Mr. Steel noted, makes good sense along the Nugent frontage, one for privacy of both sides of that planting, but also to obscure the visibility of the deck. The building coverage, I don't see as substantially detrimental issue. The dwelling is modest in size and scale and massing. It provides basic living space in rooms of reasonable size. No opportunity for a basement here, so those 2 floors have to do it all in terms of living space and storage. So I think it makes sense to bend a little bit for accommodating that kind of constraint. And again, the deck provides convenient basic access to outdoor space. As to the impervious coverage, I don't see that as substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. It is driven by a basic driveway giving access to the 2 required parking spaces, which are effectively in a garage by being under the dwelling, so not so much in the open. I am certain that because of the location and the flooding status, that there will be tremendous mitigation of these coverage issues through appropriate stormwater management facilities once all is said and done at the DEP level. And Mr. Steele has a different opinion. I'm open to hearing it, but I can't imagine that this would be approved there without total scrutiny and attention to addressing the stormwater in complete form. Because the yards are conforming, the coverage to me doesn't make for the look of an overly reaching building. As to the aspects of proof that address the C2 criteria, the flexible C, the balancing test, benefits outweighing the detriments test, however you want to name it. There's a five-step review. First part is to make sure this applies to a specific piece of property. It certainly does. Next is to identify the public benefits through the advancement of certain purposes of the municipal land use law. I mentioned 3 of them in the D4 testimony, and they are purposes A, C, and I. Approval also enables this particular lot to be used productively as intended by the zone scheme of the borough. The negative criteria have been addressed in my earlier testimony and carry forward into the C2 analysis, which enables me to conclude that on balance, the benefits of granting the relief substantially outweigh the detriments. So with that, folks, I've come to my conclusions. Hallelujah, right? Sorry, it was a little long in the tooth. There was a lot to cover there. As I see it, zoning is meant to be flexible, not rigid, to accommodate special circumstances, especially physical constraints, which certainly abound on this particular property. The application, in my view, satisfies all statutory criteria for approval, and I respectfully submit your approval is warranted. That's it for me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. I will turn it to the board, and I will start. Mr. Freeman, any questions for this planner?
Yeah. Just You had mentioned about how a through lot typically has a front and back yard condition. I was just wondering, I don't see any photos from like the Nugent side, or I was just wondering how you saw some of the surrounding properties kind of react to the similar conditions. Did they also have?
Image 5 in my exhibit on the last sheet shows the Nugent perspective looking at the subject property from the side view.
Right. But I can't see the other houses necessarily. I was just,
That's pretty much my point. The deck here would not be disruptive of other development patterns along that street. There are homes that are in a regular rhythm on the south side of Nugent Place. I did observe that when I visited. But it's a little more random on the northern side of Nugent Place, the building placements and orientation.
I mean, it looks to me like some properties face one way or the other.
Yes.
And they switch. The one next to it is oriented the same way. I was just wondering if you've seen where the depth of that house is in relation to what you're trying to do. If they also go similar distance back, or if they...
I didn't make that comparison, but I can assert that our lines of the principal dwelling are within the building envelope for this lot. 10-foot side yards, 30-foot front yard, at least 25 in the rear for the main building.
Right. Okay. No other questions.
All right, thank you.
But since you asked the question, and it's a good one, Mr. Friedman, that on sheet 4, you can get a feel for the rhythm and setbacks of the four dwellings to the west of the subject property, if that's what you're looking for.
Also, I think Mr. Bruno's photo, exhibit number 1, I believe, is a view shot from the rear from Nugent Place. Joe? No? From Beechwood Drive. No, it says from Beechwood Drive, I apologize. It shows the true throughness of the lot, yeah, but that gives the delineation of road to road, the lot, more or less, right? All right. I know you're looking for more of what the rear yard condition is for the Hillsdale homes, but, yeah, unfortunately, that's not photographed. Dr. Weinberg?
So this picture number 1 does show the house on Nugent Place, correct?
That would be Mr.
So it's directly
Bruno's.
opposite where the backyard is going to be. Yes, that's directly opposite where it's going to be. Okay. The roadway is higher, so it's going to drain towards the house.
Well, actually, there's a curve, a solid curve, unbroken curve on the north side of Nugent. I studied this very carefully because of the change in grade. That water is not going to interact with the water of the subject property on a normal rainfall. Flooding conditions, of course, all of that is off the table, but regular rainfalls will be channeled to catch basin on Nugent Place.
So, looking at page 1 of the plot plan, if we didn't have the deck and we didn't have the driveway, the house would be basically conforming to that area, correct?
That's how I see it, yeah.
So, if the driveway is made with the pavers, that will help? And is there anything that could be put underneath the deck that would help to drain? Or is that an open deck? What's underneath the deck?
I'm not sure.
The deck would have open joints, so we could have, we could certainly not pave the entire area beneath the house. So especially beneath the deck, we would keep that, keep that pervious, so that any water draining through the deck.
So that would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It would change the number a little bit. And then the last question I have is, how much wider is the house going to be than 37 from the front? Because this has a driveway, obviously it's not 10 feet on each side. So how much wider is it going to be?
I don't know how wide that house is.
Okay. Obviously, it's a tough thing to make a call. Each house, each person that comes we take as an individual. It's tough to say that 75% cover FAR. You look at it and you say this is not something that we're going to do, but I just have to be convinced that it's the proper thing to do for the community. Okay.
It's all about incentives, but getting back to the question about the width, we do comply with the site.
With the 10 feet on each side, I saw that, correct.
My findings were also strongly influenced by touring the neighborhood and seeing the variety of dwellings. The wider ones obviously were on wider lots, but it was certainly not a homogeneous neighborhood that has a very specific rhythm and cadence. I'm sure you know of such neighborhoods. But this is a little
Right, but
eclectic in the arrangements.
It's the D4 variance that bothers me, at least.
Yes, and I appreciate the concern. The smaller a lot gets, the uglier the numbers look. But when you, for me, doing this for 40 years, it's what someone uninformed sees as they go by. Is it looking like the other homes in the neighborhood? And yes, I have to say absolutely it will look similar and compatible to the other homes in the immediate neighborhood.
And the only other thing I can say, I wish them luck building a house in the floodway.
Any other? That's it? All right. Mr. Alter?
No questions.
Mr. Raymond?
No questions.
Mr. Greep?
I just want to say that I was impressed by your presentation. That was extremely thorough.
Wow, thank you so much.
And I was
for
sitting
that.
here trying to think of questions to ask. Do the applicants have children?
2 kids.
2, so each have their own bedroom?
Hold on.
Should ask the applicants.
If they have to come up and get sworn in, if we get to that, happily you can come up. And sometimes it's better to plead the fifth sometimes.
I heard testimony that expressed a growing family would be occupying this house.
Okay, understood. Just looking at your page 1 of 5, which is the tax map,
Mhm.
and then page 4 of 5. So on the tax map, the subject property is 50 by 100 foot, correct?
Correct.
As is number 37, correct?
Yes,
And number 41?
yes.
And it looks like at number 47, there are 2 properties side by side. They have the same dimensions?
No, that's actually one dwelling straddling those 2 lots
Okay.
on the ground.
But on the tax map between 33 and 61 to the left, everything shows 50 by 100.
Yes,
And lot 37 has a structure on it, correct?
yes.
As does
Lot
4
lot 37 or number 30?
number 37?
Yeah, lot 4, number
Lot
37.
4,
Yes,
number 41, lot 5 has a structure on it.
yes, sir.
Did you do any analysis as to the FAR or the building coverage in relation to those 2 properties?
I did not, and the reason is simple, that because the standard of review focuses on the site in question, I need to demonstrate that that element is addressed. The negative criteria cover the relative relationships to other properties, and that's why I focused on the things I said about that.
Okay. And I know we've talked about FAR, floor area ratio, but part of the reason it's so high is because the first floor is a carport and the house is built on stilts, pilings, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So if we back out that floor, we get down to 46%, 46.79. I can't even read my own handwriting. Is that correct?
I think that's the number Mr. Bruno gave.
And if you wanted to shrink that down, and perhaps this question is better addressed to Mr. Bruno, if you wanted to shrink down that 46.79 down to 35%, roughly how much square footage are you cutting out of this house?
Let's see. total permitted would be 1,750, and we've got even with this 30. I'm going to have to use the calculator for this because it's been a long day. What did I say, 1,750?
Yeah.
We'd have to cut 590 square feet.
What are the size of the bedrooms?
The size of the bedrooms are, well, the master is 16 by 14, and as I testified before, especially by today's standards, nothing outrageous. Bedrooms 2 and 3 are identical at 12 feet 4 inches by 11 feet 8.
I'm terrible at math other than point ones because I'm an attorney, so you basically have to eliminate the 2 kids' bedrooms,
It would, well,
part of them.
we'll see what that yields. Okay, each child's bedroom is 143 square feet.
Okay,
So in order to get to compliance, we would be building a clubhouse.
Understood. Okay. And my last question, because there's a gentleman's testimony about the issue of the front yard setback, that they might make a determination that the part of the property that's adjacent to Nugent is actually the rear yard, and instead of a 30-foot requirement, it would be a 25-foot requirement. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. Does that in any way impact the way we're viewing this, or we have to treat it?
The deck still evokes the.
Got it. Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions about this project. I have some thoughts about zoning for this area and in the floodway, but that's not for this.
Thank you.
All right, so that brings me, okay, so, I understand the undersized lot is obviously the go-to hardship here. If you did all your areas with a 7,500 square foot lot, your impervious is still over, but if you use pavers, it goes down. It's the 29.12%. Your building coverage doesn't need a variance, but still that FAR is 53.2, even if you had a 7,500 square foot lot. If you took out the parking, it's 31.2%. So unfortunately, I had all the free time to do this math while you were talking, so.
My hat is off to you.
So what I'm getting at is even if you had the right size lot, your FAR is still grossly over at this current point. I understand, and I do agree from the aspect of architectural design that it's not an overbearing monstrosity of a house. It is designed with that in consideration. But I guess I have one question. It could be Chris to our attorney. Is there any negligence by this board by allowing this much coverage, impervious coverage, to be added to an already exacerbated flood zone? Yeah, I know. I wrote that all down. I really did. It's already in a flood zone where it's an all-grass lot currently, and now we're going to be allowing, or if this board sees appropriately, to allow an impervious coverage calculation to add on top of it, so meaning displacing more water.
Well, there'll be some displacement of water in the.
I know the water's going to rush right through. I get it, but
Yeah, I mean, there are columns and there are, enclosures, et cetera, right?
is there any negative things that can come back to this board because, oh, you guys approved this house and now I have, Westwoods on our backs because now there's
No,
construction debris floating through and stuff like
They have
that?
to still get a permit from the state, and that state would trump, the state permit would trump that.
Okay. I just-
They would have to comply, but also the only thing I'll add is it's a permitted use, so something has to go here. And if you don't allow anything to go here, that's when you also get into issues.
Okay, fair. All right, that was my only questions.
I was also.
You can respond, absolutely. But
I was also impressed by the 2022 master plan section on conservation, which makes a prominent recommendation to have a walking and bicycle path on both sides of the Pascagoula Brook with pavement at least 7 feet wide. So if you do the quick math there for a 50-foot wide lot.
Mr. Bruno could do that math for you. It's fine.
And for a conforming 75-foot wide lot, that's additional pavement to boot. So it's not, to me, necessarily hostile to planning and zoning in Hillsdale.
I think we'll get to that. We'll see what we get to. All right, so that being the completion of our questions, I'll open to the public. Not seeing anyone, I will now close it to the public. As the applicant, did you have anyone else or any other testimony you wanted to give prior to this board giving its final thoughts? You're more than welcome to the people that are going to inhabit this house if they wanted to. Nope. I'm just giving you the opportunity to, because you state your name and address for the board.
I'm Christine Cashel, Cashell. We live at 37 Beechwood Drive.
Michael
You could
Gormley.
just- Oh, sorry.
Michael Gormley, 37 Beechwood Drive also.
And if you could both just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
My mother purchased the property for us. Our home at the moment, we have a very small bedroom that our son is in. We're just trying to build something a little bit bigger for us to grow into. And hopefully have our parents come and live nearby to us, and that is the reason. We have lived in the flood zone now since 2018. We understand all the issues and have been there during flooding. It is a little bit scary, but we've been there, we've dealt with it. We've dealt with it with a house that has a basement, and we've had to clean out a basement. We've had to clean out, lots of our stuff. So also that's something we were hoping for, to start, to have an elevated area. And
Our two kids grew up there,
Yeah.
and they love the neighborhood, so we want to stay, ideally. We don't really want to move out. We appreciate your time.
yeah, thank you.
Hold on. You came up, now you get some
Yep,
questions. if you
that's
can.
fine.
I baited you for that one. Does anyone on the board have any questions for the future residents of this? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone have any final commentary before we go to a motion? Or any criteria for anything that they want to say?
Was he going to cut down a little bit, something?
When you say he, what are you talking about?
Mr. Bruno
Mr.
was going
Bruno.
to cut, we asked him.
Potential of reduction?
Yes. He
Yeah,
mentioned
I
that.
think it might be appropriate for us to discuss that.
All right, you want to take a quick recess?
Yeah, just to make sure, let me just.
That's no problem. We'll take a real quick 5 minutes. That way you guys can discuss, and then we'll come back and we'll try to close this out, okay? Time is now 9:31. We're going to take a quick 5 minutes, and that should be it.